Clear. Okay, great. Well, we're going to call this meeting to order. There's three of us. And the time, not that we're really recording it, but just so that we all know, got 9:06. And just want to make sure there's no public comment at this time, online or in the courtroom. Okay, I don't see any public comment. Connie's going to check the hallway for us, and I don't see anybody raising their hands online for public comment at this time. Just let me know if, okay, all good. No public comment at this time. And then we'll proceed right into this budget workshop. And Dale has just passed out new paperwork for us to go over, and I'm going to let Dale have his pleasure. Would you like to hear from commissioners first about all the items that they reviewed, or do you believe that it would be more prudent to kind of go through the items that you've just passed out, because it might have changed things?
Let me go through the numbers because there are some our rates did change.
All right, then let's start with you, Dale.
Basically, we're going to go to the handout I gave you. It starts on P1.
P as in Paul.
Yes. These are the rates we provided to you on last Commissioner's Court on August the 7th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. However, there was some calculation errors, and there was some errors that the appraisal put in incorrectly. That was some of the new property that they recorded as a regular property, and this is the property they received from a outside vendor that does our valuations for our refineries. I believe that's Pickett is, I believe, the last name of the company, and they provided some information. And I believe the additional new property is over $150 million, so that just definitely increased our balances. So with that, we'll go back to the calculation on the second to the left. You'll see the 2021 no new revenue tax rates. That did change slightly because of the new property. So we have a new rate of 0.298982. Our maximum rollback, our maximum voter approved rate is 0.314205. And last year, the state passed a law that allows us to use any unused increments that we didn't use in the prior year this year. And if we so choose to do that, that would be 0.319058. The hospital district numbers changed slightly to 0.106192 and 0.115601, and we provide this information to Mr. Hipp, and he has the information on a few scenarios. We'll be glad to go over any one that you might have. On P3 is where we talk about the balances, and you'll see where our new property is now $642,333,417, where prior to this it was around 420-some million. So that's where our rates did change. Same thing for the farm market as well as the hospital district. They were all affected the same way. Now we go to P6. P6 is where we show our first calculation of our proposed new revenue calculations and how much income, if we so choose to select the no new revenue tax rate, we would see an increase of revenue of $1,031,186. Again, that's $1,031,186 on the calculation of the no new revenue tax rate.
I just want to ask you quickly.
Can you say that part again? I guess I don't have that handout. I apologize.
Commissioner, we're scanning that now, and we should be getting emailing that to you very, very shortly.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was going to say.
And again, I sent an email this morning to ask Dale to see if he could meet with me in person on Thursday to go through all of this line item by line item, because I will readily admit I lost some time last week based on my personal circumstances. I apologize. That's nobody's business. I mean, that's my problem. I'm not making excuses, but I will go through this with him line by line on Thursday if he has time to meet with me.
Thank you, Brent.
By all
Appreciate
means,
that.
Commissioner, I will have the time for you on Thursday. But remember, we do set a proposed rate tomorrow. Again, that's
Right.
only the ceiling rate. That's we're not adopting a rate tomorrow. We're just setting a ceiling of as high as we can go, and anything above that would require a lot more public hearing. So tomorrow would just be setting a ceiling of a rate. So we're not proposing to adopt a rate tomorrow, just to setting the rate. But those are some scenarios, and Saber should be emailing this very shortly. And as soon as we get this, we'll definitely go over this Thursday to show you where our calculations are. If we go to P7, you'll see what we do if we so choose to do the highest rate that we would do without any unused increments of a 3.5% increase of our tax rate. That increase of the 3.5, which is your voter approved rate, would bring in $3,805,978. Now, just to do this for scenario purposes on P8, this is if we use prior year's tax rate. If we use prior year's tax rate, this would be a little bit lower than the 3.5% we just mentioned. So if we use last year's tax rate without changing anything, that's including the general fund, the debt service fund, as well as the road fund. I think the road fund, we're going to go to the voter approved rate because we need the money in the road fund. But if we do the last year's rate, we would generate $3,725,861 in revenue for that particular time. For the general fund, if we so choose to use the highest rate, which is our voter approved rate, and we use all of our unused increments. Now, if we use any of the unused increments, we lose it all. So even if we use a 1/100th of a cent from any balances, once you use any, you use all. This is if we use 100% of the unused increments, which gives us at a rate of 0.268072. And that is an increase above last year's tax rate. And this would generate $5,318,849. Now, we have two scenarios on P10 and P11, and that's for our debt service. Now, our debt service is if we fully fund what we require to do our requirements, would be at a 0.47241, which is above last year's rate. That would bring in $1,413,000 more. However, I do not believe we need this funds because our requirements are only $14.5 million. There's no need to bring in $15.3. So I brought another scenario on P11, using the same scenario that Mr. Estrada and Hinojosa provides to us, that we continue our tax rate at the same rate for our debt service, where there was no increase. We see a small increase of $637,833, and this will allow us to pay 100% of our requirements with a slight use of the fund balance, but not a significant amount. On P12 and P13 is where we start our farm to market. Our farm to market at the no new revenue tax only brings in $5,003. That's why, regardless of what we do, we probably want to propose the 3.5% increase for our farm to market, because a 3.5% on page P13 brings in $53,707. That's a very, very, very low amount for what we do. Now, the rest of the scenarios are for the hospital district. I'll wait till Johnny comes up here. We provide this information to him on what the additional increases were for what, if they so choose to do the no new revenue tax. And then we gave them some scenarios if they had to use our 3.5%, which they don't. They're allowed to 8%, but if we give them 3.5%, you'll see that on P15. P16 is if we did do the maximum 8%, showing you what the additional funds would be in. And we get some scenarios that Mr. Hipp probably would like to have, and those are what we provide to him. When Johnny brings his scenarios up, we can definitely modify those. So for this point in time, that is what our new rate is. Those are what our projected revenues are. Those can definitely be modified to whatever the court seems necessary. But the main thing you need to look at is the first thing I gave you on J1. J1 is the budget challenges that we've talked about in the past, where we know we have to do everything that's in starred. And if you look at the very bottom, the star totals $2,715,976. And that's our continuous pay of roughly 150 employees, including 5 elected officials, 3 department heads, and 148 regular employees. Our collective bargaining agreement with a law enforcement organization, we're required to give Judge Galvan an increase in salary due to the law that was passed 2 years ago. Unfortunately, our retirement increases are going to be increasing. However, we do see a small decrease in our workers' comp, just because how we were budgeting that in the past. And we do have that Bank of America loan agreement that we have to pay of a 1.5. and we've discussed that the prior year's changes that have already been taken care of are also this: the remaining items, which is your lifeguards, your risk assessment, your boundary dispute, your Metricom. Now, I added something that we talked about with the judge and the other ones. There's a plan with the Corps of Engineers that we maybe have to provide $50,000. We know there's a grant for the Veteran Services that will be ending, and he said that there's a very need for this employee. And if we so to choose to bring this on, that'd be another $38,722. I don't have that starred, but it's something we need to talk about. And of course, for all of the new new positions and limited reclassifications that we have, we can definitely go over those. It's getting the point in time where it doesn't look like the funds we have available, we can do any of it. But this is something the court will need to decide how we do it. It all depends on our collections of our revenue and how well we manage our expenses. For example, if our collections are around 98% and our expenses are about 92%, and we chose the maximum rollback rate plus the unused, we can still break even a little bit plus, but this is definitely something we want to talk about. So we're glad to try to put in any increments or any scenarios y'all like to see. Then we can determine what our proposed rate will be that we discuss tomorrow. We'll be glad to go over any of the new positions we have included, as well as any of the reclassification to modify this and try to reduce our cost. But unfortunately, some of these known expenses that we had to have at 2.7 million, unless we wanted to use some of our resources, we can't pay for it with the new revenue tax of 1,013,000. When we get it out.
Okay, so, excellent
Can I ask a
summary.
general question?
Yes,
Can I ask a
sir.
general question?
Yes.
Dale, sorry, you went through that fast and I don't have the handout. So can you tell me what is the proposed new general revenue fund that's not valuation increases again, but just new real growth, as I call it? And I'm not, if that's the right word.
Yes, let's see.
It's approximately 650 million, but we're going to get you the right number. Hang on.
Well, we had
Which I think
new
is
property
higher than
of 642,393,417.
Which is higher than last week, right?
Yes, last week it was only 425,000 because there was a error on how the balances were entered in from the appraisal district when they received some money, the information from the outside entity that does our refinery valuations. They didn't
That's
include
still not as
100.
good as I was hoping, but that's a lot better than I thought. I mean, that number last week kind of shocked me, but, okay, so what does that mean? That number generates with just growth?
1,031,000.
Yeah.
And what was the number last week? I thought the last week number was about that.
We didn't have revenue last week because we knew these numbers were in error. All we provide to you last week was just the rates. We didn't include increase in revenue. We proposed that if we did a small calculation, that would be anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 to $600,000, just a rough estimate when we discussed it. But now we have the actual numbers in. The no new revenue tax would bring in $1,031,186.
Okay, thank you. That's what I need for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that was one thing I was going to do, but you did a nice job of that already, and that is just to repeat the numbers again that are the most critical to recall from Dale's summary, and that's the 1,031,186. That represents the revenue from no new revenue tax rate. And for those of you that remember the old way of saying it, that's the effective. And then the amount of money that would be generated from what you and I know as the 3.5%, which is the rate that we call the voter-approved rate. That's the revenue cap. That amount of money is $3.8 million and some change. And then if you add the unused tax increment, that would be on P9, and that's the $5,318,849. And then there's a final one, which is just what was your tax rate last year? And that turns out to be 3.3989, so a little under that 3.5, and that would generate the 3,725,861. And of course,
Can you please check your email? I believe Saber has just sent those out, so hopefully you
oh,
will
thank
receive
you.
them very
That
soon.
really helps. Yeah. So those are the numbers that are highlighted with the percentages. And then, of course, the last thing to summarize is that if you add all the stars up on J1, then those stars equal $2.715 million. And those are just the stars, just those stars. And so what we'll do now is we'll just, start our discussion, and I'll just open it up.
Your Honor, also in the information I provide, you have some small little scenarios on K1,
Okay.
K3, and K5 showing you the same scenario that you have here. Basically, on K1, it's showing you what our challenges are, what our known revenues and expenses are. And on K2 shows you if we so choose the no new revenue tax, we would have a deficit of $3.8 million in our general fund. On K3, if we do the prior year tax rate, which is right about 3.42%, we'll see the same scenario, the same numbers. But on K4, you'll see if we choose last year's prior rate, we would see a proposed, again, these, we have to go make sure the projected percentage of revenue collection and expenses are 98, 92. Those can vary if we go down or up, but right now at last year's rate, we would see a deficit of about 1.2 million. If we do K5, which is our 3.5% voter approved rate, which brings in the 3.8 million we talked about, on K6, that would be a $100,000 again deficit on our fund balance. And we did a scenario with the all use of the 100% use of the unused increment balances. And on K8, we see that if we so choose the maximum rollback rate plus the unused recommend, with a collection percentage of 98% and expense rate of 92%, we would see a $300,000 increase in fund balance. Now, again, these will definitely change because in the past, we're right around 91, 92%. This last year, we're at 86. We get back to running 100% again. That could probably be closer to 90 or 91%, which would definitely increase the 306. But again, then if we do the same scenario, if you look at last year's revenue collection of 95%, if you drop that down to 96 or 97%, we again fall around this revenue. So I'm kind of saying that we almost have to use the voter approved rate with unused increments, but we'll leave this for the court's decision on how we do.
But that's your best.
That's my best.
Best recommendation.
Best recommendation.
Okay, so we'll just kind of go down the line. So Commissioner Chesney doesn't have the benefit yet, but he's about to get him by email. So we'll call on him last. But Commissioner Hernandez, what is your thoughts after hearing Dale's recommendations with regards to the no new revenue, voter approved revenue, and his recommendation for the voter approved plus the unused increment?
Judge, I would like to hear some more, so I put my thoughts to it.
If you wouldn't mind, just because of the mic, just, there you
I
go.
would like to listen to some more, a discussion.
Okay. So you don't have,
I don't
you
have
don't
any-
have anything one way or another, just
One way
right
or
at this
another.
moment?
That is correct, Judge.
Okay,
Thank
Commissioner Modis?
I have some priorities. I think that there are some positions that we need to fill with our budget and our budget requests that we've had come this year. I am also open to any percentage. I think once we get down into the weeds and really work out our discussion, but I feel that there is some room that we have that we can get up to the 3.5 or anything below that. I mean, I'm able to live with that. Now, that'll help us shape where we're at as far as our budget requests, district attorney and, just equipment and all these other items that we've had requested. So I am able to go any direction. I think that, we're gonna probably find ourselves somewhere in between, 3.5 and
The
no,
unused
and the
increment.
unused. So I
Okay.
want, that's kind of where I'm at right now, not anything really specific.
Okay.
But I do want to make sure that we do hit, some of those major requests, like the district attorney's office. I know there's always usually a COLA that is thrown in, and so that's going to be important for me that
Oh,
we
my
try to
God.
achieve that as well, so.
I'm so sorry.
So we're going to have to make sure to keep that all in mind as we work forward with this.
Well, right now, I'm the same way Commissioner Mott is, you know, I'm looking at, different positions that I would like to recommend, you know. If we're gonna look at positions, I'm not even looking at reclassifications right now, but I asked for some information there a couple of times and I haven't gotten it, in reference to percentages.
Oh, you never asked me.
Well,
You didn't ask me?
I did ask you when you talked to me, when I was meeting with you, I asked you about those things.
I said, I'd direct you to the HR
then-
director, because the
then
HR
I-
should be providing the information, not us.
Then I think that Sandra sent you something also. But anyway, I need remember I told you, and I think I met with somebody else, my office, maybe a day. I need the 5% from the 29 and above, and then 8% and 7% from the 28 down to 11. You know, see what the percentage would be. Because and probably what it would be if we do across the board, 7%, So those are the things that I need before I even start making any kind of decisions on anything. And really, I'm looking right now probably at no new tax, no new revenue tax, but I need to know where we stand before I even make a decision. And, because I know that we talked about last time, the lifeguard, the risk assessment, and the MetroCom, those would probably, or not the MetroCom, but the lifeguard, the risk assessment, that would be under ARPA. Didn't we say that they could probably be covered under ARPA? Also, the dispute, the lawsuit, didn't we set aside money last year for that? Every year we set aside money, it looks like, but, so that money should be there, right?
We have not set aside money for that. We've set aside money for a valuation dispute with Flint Hills and Valero. We've got a liability in our books for the property dispute, but it's not 1.1 million. It's closer to 400,000 or 500,000. But I need to do the valuation from the county attorney to determine where that number is. But right now, we probably have in our books $500,000 that's tied into that border dispute.
So we're not looking at $1 million, then we're looking at 500,000?
If we have $400,000 to $500,000 in our current liability, if it is 1 million, then I need around $600,000 additional funds that's not been appropriated yet.
So it should be 600,000 there instead of 1 million, right? I think.
Well, again, that's the valuation. It could be that's how high the lawsuit would increase our current liability, and the county attorney knows our liability increase, and she knows what our values are that we assess, so I might leave that to the direction of the county attorney.
And we also said probably the MetroCom could, which is, it says 546,000, but I think it's 264,000, right? I think, didn't we talk about that last time also? And then maybe ARPA could fund that?
There's a possibility that ARPA can fund it. Now, we're still working on whether we can or cannot be. We're still don't know that yet. But there's a chance it can be. We've got several people researching this and working with the Department of Treasury to see if these are definitely ARPA funds available. These are increases for our 911 program and our radio situation where it is health and human services and government programs. So there is a chance it can be, but I can't say 100%, but there is a chance.
Because if it does, I mean, I guess that would kind of, bring down, what our expense, right, what we need. And if we use the ARPA funds, right, so we wouldn't even have to.
Well, those funds are not even in that 2.7 million.
I know, but I'm saying, but if they're not, I'm still, sooner or later, we have to add them to them if we're gonna pay for them, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so, I mean, you gotta pay them later, you gotta pay them now, but I'm saying if we don't have to pay for them, then we can say that's gonna be a savings for us down the road, right? The reason I'm asking the percentage is because I'm also, of course, the DA's office and the attorneys and, people that I'm not agreeable with, and I know this is probably the system it fell on, the 1%, 2%. I wouldn't even imagine somebody getting a 1% or 2% increase, or even 3% right now. But those are the things that this is why I'm concerned about the percentages. And I'd like to look at them, see what we have. and see what it comes out to. And, you know, I guess if it depends on the, again, no reclassification, but, you know, I don't know the new positions that I've got a list, I don't know if we wanna, now or later, I mean, I don't know when we're gonna bring those up. But, you know, I just, you know, I made my own list as far as, you know, on the positions, you know, I'm taking out the law library, the communication, the PIO, because I didn't vote for the PIO to begin with. Building, but I'm adding the building superintendent, HVAC. Everything else is okay, building superintendent, secretary, court, county court, law number 5. And then we go to the district attorney's office, and it's, 515,000 general fund, right?
Yes.
So, but is that considered new positions, or is that considered just transfers from a previous,
Transfer from another department, but they are new to the general fund.
so we're to consider them new positions?
Well, again, they're not really new, they're just being transferred, is how they report. We've been asked to report this as being as creating a new position in the general fund and deleting a position in another special revenue fund to cover this. However, these positions already exist.
Right.
They're just paid somewhere else.
So I mean, and I support that as far as, but I don't know if we want to include them as a new position, because that brings up our numbers in the bottom, right? I mean,
That's just how I was asked to report it.
yeah, well, you know, I don't know who asked you to report it, but I think what I would like to know is to separate that, because it's not, to me, it's not new positions, it's transfer positions. And I totally support the 515,000 if we have to. You know, maybe we'll get it back in a year, maybe we won't, I don't know, but at least I don't mind supporting it. And everything else is the district clerk, justice of the peace, 1, the sheriff, 2, and emergency management, prepare planner, just 1. I don't think we need the recovery specialist. In environmental enforcement, you got the senior clerk, then code enforcement officer, and the court security and the badging. The Gomez, we included it also there, but isn't it gonna be paid by Gomez, so we need to take it out of there?
Well, Gomez is paying for it, but it's for Department 13, so it doesn't have any effect on the general fund.
So what, but it's added on the bottom, right?
It's part of the special revenue, yes. The one that says the special revenue funds, 17 employees, is part of that.
But I'm just saying it just adds to the total, right?
Yes. It is a new position, it does not already exist.
But it comes out of different funds, or
Correct.
it doesn't come a general fund.
Correct.
So it's really not a loss to us, right? I mean, it's really got a,
It's got its own revenue sources, so no, it does not have an impact on the general fund at this time.
okay. Then criminal investigator, that's fine. The Nueces County Development, senior clerk, you know, okay. But, you know, the veterans, again, that's like the DAs on the top, you know, we, that's really, I know we get reimbursed, or you're supposed to get the money up front, but if we are, then that should be a category separate, not affect our general fund, right?
It's not affected the general fund, it's on that same level as the proposed new positions on special revenue. The general fund only has 982,000 of the 1.7 million increase, so there's only 15 employees for the general fund.
So the veterans not considered on the new employees?
They're new employees, but they're not general fund employees.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So what you're telling me, I guess we're counting from above that up, give us the 12 employees.
Everything from 522 and above up to the 1123 is general fund. Everything above the 1123 and below 520 is not general fund.
Okay. That kind of confuses me when I see the totals, and I say, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's not that high, you know, but maybe. So that's kind of the things I'm looking at right now. Just, like I said, I just need that information to see which way I'm gonna go. I'd rather make sure that, I'd rather make sure all the employees are taken care of than instead of just a certain few employees, and so that's what That's my observation right now, Commissioner. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Chesney?
Dale, could you restate again, I'm at a disadvantage if you've got it written somewhere. Can you restate what your recommendation is?
My current proposal, based on the required $2.7 million increase in our known budget challenges, what our revenue will bring in as the 3.5%. My current proposal is using the 3.5% plus part of, or if not all of, the unused increments. So that value is, where's the rates? 0.263219 for the general fund. Keeping the debt. Go ahead.
0.26319?
0.263219.
what page is that, Dale?
That's on P1.
That's your increase?
That's the general fund, the increase would be from where we're at now, right about 0.007 or 0.008 increase from our current rate. Our current rate is 0.311483. We have a voters approved with unused increments of 0.319058, which would be around 0.00008. However, we're using a debt service that's fully funded. I'm not going to use that rate, so I don't have the rate. What's the rate without the fully increment, Lisa?
But your general fund increase recommendation is 0.263219?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
about, that's 0.01 increase of the general fund. From our
On the
current rate,
on the general fund rate,
yes.
0.0 what?
For our current rate, it's right at 0.001 or 0.000. It's very, very small. When we go from our adopted rate of 0.262962 to our current rate of 0.263219, what's the difference?
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna wait and meet with Dale on Thursday.
I'll probably have to meet with you again, Dale.
Yeah.
Anything else, any other questions from the court or anything else to present, Dale?
Well, we provide you a updated schedule of your new positions that the commissioner was going through, and we changed the ones for the emergency management. It's no longer emergency management. It's now considered a grant fund proposal for your disaster recovery specialist and emergency preparedness, which means grants will pay this, and the grant is the ARPA funds. Now, again, this is a questionable if the ARPA funds do approve that. So if they do not approve that, it'd be similar to all other grant funds. The positions don't exist unless they are so approved. M2 shows you your grand totals of your general fund. There's 15 employees of proposed new positions. There's deleting of 2 positions. That'd be the items they have. We have proposed funding from the district attorney. So our proposed impact of the general fund would be $518,466 if you also choose to pass these positions. Our operating fund is the only one position, that's the law library.
I'm sorry, what positions do you have? Can you read them out?
It's your communications, your title rejection clerk, your HVAC, mechanical system maintenance, your secretary, your drug court coordinator, all your district attorney, your felony, your felony 3, 4, and administrative secretary, as well as your CJIS secretary for your district clerk. The ones you mentioned before for the JP, the 2 for your building workers for the sheriff, and then the senior clerk, as well as another environmental officer. Those totaled up to being 15 positions. We're deleting a position that was already funded the prior year for the veteran cemetery of the county attorney. And we're also deleting the position from the sheriff's office as they had asked to do. So we're totally funding a possible of 13 new positions of a total of $514,466.
513. And that's including the 515,000 for the,
Yes,
so altogether 500, so altogether it's 513,000?
518,000.
18,000.
That's just for the general fund. Operating fund, which is your law library, is 49,000. Your special revenue fund, which includes your courthouse security, your Gomesa funds, your criminal investigator, your senior clerk for and all your balances from your veteran cemetery, that's 17 positions. We're asking to remove 6.
Right.
So net 11, so total cost for the UFU, so choose a special revenue of 252. $300, and we moved those two to the grants, and those are funded, and it's $89,000 for a total of $1,773,586.
The rate for the
1,773,000. 1,773,000 what?
Well, you do a cost of $1,773,586, and you subtract the balances from the other page, so we're right at $1,200,000.
1,200,000.
I have the rate for the commissioner. Commissioner Chesney, the total proposed tax rate would be the 0.31141, or 716. That includes your general fund with the unused increment, the debt service prior year rate, and the road fund at the maximum rollback. And so again, that proposed 2021, 2022 tax rate is going to be 0.311716.
And what's the current one, Lisa?
The current rate is 0.311483.
The difference.
Thank you very much.
The difference of those is, the difference is 0.000233 increase.
Thank you.
If I may remind the court that on the Commissioners Court agenda tomorrow, we do have an item to receive updated calculations of the no new revenue tax rate, voter-approved tax rate, and fund balances for Nueces County, Nueces County Farm to Market, and the hospital district. And the item after that is to actually consider the updated proposal for 2021, 2022 tax rate for Nueces County. And the court is asked to take a record vote and authorize publishing appropriate notices if necessary.
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow, yes.
That's tomorrow.
Okay. And these numbers, Dale, this is now not including the requests that had been sent out earlier as far as the COLA, so that's gonna change, or?
Yes, I'll try to have that as soon as we get done here. I'll get the information to the commissioner, so we'll have everything ready.
But from last year to this year, the budget you're delivering is 4 or 5 places over before we even see a change, is that correct?
Yes, and the biggest hit is what we saw is the Bank of America debt service that we went out for ABM of, you subtract $1.5 million from that, and we'd be about where we were last year.
So for me, and I know the numbers are gonna change, hopefully not significantly, but if the COLA does get added in, or if it gets, ultimately, I mean, this to me is almost, I've never seen a budget proposed this close to a previous year. I never have. I mean, this is, I mean,
Tight.
this may not be perfect, this may not be what everybody wants, but to me, this is really, I mean, I've never seen anything this close before. And so I thank y'all for the work you've done. Now, we'll see what it looks like in the end, because I know it's fast and furious, but
They've done good work.
this is very good work. I mean, to get, how many tenths, I mean, not how many tenths, but how many, that's 0, 0, 0, was it 4 zeros?
It's 4 zeros.
4 zeros
It's
to,
10,000ths of a point, it's 2.0002, so it's 10,000ths of, 2/10,000ths of a cent.
right. So I know that those that see, they want zeros across the board, this is not it, but that's about as close as you can get from last year to this year. And I know that it's relative because there's other numbers at play, but this is very promising for me, at least, to see that we're this close to offering the list that we talked about. And then hopefully, like I said, the COLA doesn't, see what that will look like for us to try to accept.
We hadn't
and
even
live
talked
with.
about reclassifications either.
Well, yeah. So, at least we have somewhere to go with on this. I think we're really close. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Dale or? I know the judge had to step out, so I don't know, is she gonna come back, Tyner, or I don't want to shut us down if she.
Well,
didn't have something to-
Johnny's here if we want to go ahead and bring him up so he can start talking about some of his relative positions and what he's proposing for the hospital district, because we also have to propose a rate for them as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that requires different publications and notices. He provided a breakdown of their budget, so let's give him some time. We gave him a few scenarios. We may not give him everything he would possibly need, and we'll be glad to work with him on that, but I recommend we go ahead and let Johnny go ahead and give you his presentation on where he believes the position is for the hospital district and where it's all going, and then we can determine what the best way and what they're proposing as a tax rate, so we can make that decision as well.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, John.
Morning.
Commissioner Modas, can I proceed?
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Commissioners, we have some handouts, but also Connie, I think, is going to put them up on the screen. And Connie, if you could, with my handouts, go to page 5. And rotate it if you could. So, Commissioners, I wanted to start on page 5 of my presentation just to show you, as a background, what the hospital district is working up against. And then I'm going to go back to page 1 and talk about what our proposed for the tax rate that we ask you all to consider and what all that tax rate would cover. As y'all can see from this chart, that the hospital district has been deficit spending for some years, and in the future years, we expect our deficit spending to basically get worse, if you will, or to continue. And the deficit spending they're all projections, and they're subject to change each year depending on what our individual expenses and stuff are. But the green line shows what the hospital district's consolidated fund balance would be as it trends toward 2027. So, in short, in 2027, the district would still have a fund balance, but it would be significantly decreased from what it is today. So with that said, then the red line below basically indicates how much of a deficit spending we are projecting for those years. And again, these are our estimates, and they're subject to change as we move through the years with the individual budgets. So Connie, I was going to ask if you could go back to page 1. So with this page, Commissioners, I draw your attention to column 1, that would be the yellow column. The budget we're proposing for next year would include the tax rate that we had, the 111,824 rate, and enjoy the benefit of the increase in property values at that rate. And so if that is the comfort of the court, then what that budget would be able to do is to bring the district's budget, if you'll look down into row 26, almost break even. I know it has a deficit of 1.7, but compared to what the district's deficits have been in past years, that's a significant improvement. So with that budget in the yellow column, we have included a deduction in our property tax revenue to account for Valero. As Dale mentioned in his presentation, we booked a $1.5 million as a deduction from property tax revenue, but that number may be high, I guess, from listening to Dale, and we would also turn toward the county attorney to maybe handicap that number for us or give us a better feel for that number. So if hypothetically there was not the holdback or the deduction from revenue for Valero, the district's budget would be very close to break even for the first time in many years. And the reason also for that is not so much for the Valero deduction, but it has more to do with the district was able to contain its expenditures last year compared to budget. And also, it enjoys the revenue from what the court gave was allowed the hospital district to have last year. And so I think we had a situation where we had about a 3% increase in revenue to the district. And those funds were used to offset programs and stuff that the district started up. So with the yellow column, in our county expenditures. This budget would allow the hospital district to finish out funding of the mental health programs that are underway. That would be the jail diversion center. It would include funding for the components of that to work. And it would allow the hospital district to finish standing up, if you will, the mental health department that was, the county department that was stood up during this year. And the hospital district is picking up the funding for that department. So at that tax rate, the hospital district, it would be able to satisfy its statutory obligations, take care of jail health care and the expected costs we would have from having to assure medical care for any prisoners that happen to be housed outside the county. And in addition, for the district to have phase 2 work, if you will, by the Meadows Foundation, Accenture, and Texas Health Institute. And so, Commissioner Modis, that's a very high level of view, but the budget we have in the yellow column, just want to highlight in closing, is that it moves us for the first time in many years very close to break even. With the benefit of the tax increase, we need to probably adjust going forward the Valero reserve that we're going to carry there. And so, Commissioners, that's what I have at the moment. I would just say that this budget has not been circulated to the board yet. We'll certainly get that to them, but we wanted to get over here quickly and make sure that we got this in front of you in anticipation of tomorrow for your consideration, and to give you some high-level view of what the hospital district would be looking at going forward next year.
Thank you, Johnny. Any questions from the court? Appreciate this presentation and showing us that graph. I think it's a little sobering to know that the deficit is there and it's not going away. And so, you know, you obviously have to take your own action as a board and recognize that you all have helped us carry our agenda a lot with a lot of different programs that we need, and especially in response to COVID and other items. And so we couldn't do it without you. But thank you for bringing such a lean budget forward.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I think, Dale, we have a couple of speakers. We have Scott Cross that wants to speak.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Dale, can you go back to that page M1 where it showed the GOMESA funded position?
Yes.
I think there's some confusion there. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, because there is nobody currently in the Natural Resource Specialist 1 position. That is vacant. I have the 2 that is being filled by Megan Jones right now. And I think the discussion was amongst some of y'all in the background that it would be proposed to me that we would take that 2 position that is currently a fully funded FTE by the general fund, and we would I would reclassify that and to get where I wanted to get with that position, but move it all under GOMESA so it has no impact to the general fund. I wanted to make that clarification because the 1 is vacant, and I planned on keeping the 1 vacant so as to, you know, ease some of the strain on what we're trying to do with our budget and just deal with the 2 right now.
Well, Scott, on the questions you asked, when you submitted your proposal, you requested another position under your staff under Department 180 for this natural resources. We just moved it from 180 to 1307. So you do not require 2 positions for 1307?
No, I thought the 2 that's in 180 right now, the Natural Resource Specialist 2 that's in 180. I was trying to make adjustments to that salary on that position. And then from what I was told, you know, when I talked with Teresa and I visited with you, is that I would work with Julie on reclassifying it and moving it all under GOMESA because of, you know, the issues you are working with the budget to put it under those grant funds. But the 1 has always been there. and it's always been an approved position in Go Mesa, but I didn't want to do anything with that this year. I'm just trying to take care of the two. And yes, I did propose that in my budget to have fiscal impact in 180, but then it was discussed that, well, we would just move it under Go Mesa, you know, to help with all the budget issues you are trying to get through, and do that this year and then see where we're at later on. Am I making sense at all?
All right, well, we can take that one out for the 1307, the natural, because, when your request was, when you submitted at 180, you requested an additional position under your staff for a natural resources specialist on top of the two you have.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I did that. That was one of my, I guess, for lack of better words, one of my wishes in the best case scenario is that it would be the natural resources one would become an FTE. But right now, I just need to take care of the two and not worry about the one, leave it vacant for right now, and not try to move it to an FTE. You know, there's some question as to, you know, how much that one is even warranted with the two filling the duties and responsibilities it's already filling. So I just thought we'd just leave it alone. So yeah, I just thought we'd just take that out and adjust the two and the natural resource specialist two commissioners, and then we would fund it from Go Mesa, so there's no impact to the general fund. And so I still got to work with Julie on the reclassification and to get that position where I want it needed to be, knowing that the physical impact is going to be in Go Mesa and not 180, not 181, not 182, or not the general fund.
All right, we'll remove that position from the request for Gomesa. You know, if you want to increase the one for the resources two, you'll need to bring that to commissioners for a proper reclassification, if that's what you choose. So choose, because it was not a reclass under reclassification. But if you need to have that, we can possibly still include that, but I don't have that information now.
Okay, well, you know, I was just trying to do step increases on where it was right now. I wasn't going to reclassify it. It was
Step is a continuance. We can only do groups.
Okay, I'm not sure how all that works. I'm exempt, and so I just try to figure it out as I go along. So yeah, I'm focusing on the two, and I thought everybody was wanting me to move the two to being completely funded by Go Mesa and no longer funded from any of the 180 or 181 or anything from the general fund that I get. And if that was my understanding. And so that's what I've been working off of since I dropped my notes off to you on Friday, but I just haven't been able to get in. I mean, it's being, if you're going to fund it with grant money, I guess we can, I don't know how, you know, how you want to do that, you know, as far as reclassifying or step increase or what have you. I'll do whatever y'all want me to do. I just, that's one of the ones I'm going to stand fast on, because I've got to do something with it. And if I can get it where it's no impact to the general fund, then that should be a great compromise for everybody.
Another position you currently have, your resource specialist two, is a split funded between you and Public Works. So you paying 60%, Public Works paying 40%. So if that's something you want to try to increase the salary for that position, you need to still bring the court to increase that salary, and it's probably justifiable to do that, but just work with the commissioners on that particular fund. But it is split funded between you and Public Works.
Why is that, Dale?
And National Resource Specialist too.
Position that he wants to reclassify and move it over to Go Mesa? Is that
That's
the
what he's
one?
talking about. But right
Right.
now, it's split funded between 120 and 180.
Right, so he wants to take it out of Fund 12 and 80 and move it into Go Mesa full-time, right? As a
Well, the
Well, I don't
question
wanna
is,
do that.
it's
Y'all
functioning
asked me
under
to do
120 for whatever purpose that
Well-
might be. So if we take it away from 120, what will 120 need?
So why is Public Health, Public Works funding half of it?
Because it's beach management.
So,
This person does a lot of our beach permits, beach management, beach construction. You'll work with, on parts of what Scott needs on his side of it for the beach management, then on what Juan needs on his side for the doing permits. And that's why we
Yeah,
split it between the two.
Commissioner Gonzalez, the natural resource specialist two position right now processes all of our dune permit requests. So when somebody wants to build out on the island, whether it's residential or commercial, they have to go through the proper procedures of requesting dune permits, which are approved by the state, which then become basically legal binding documents for that property owner. So there's a lot of responsibility there that we have to make sure we do right to be in compliance with the beach and dune rules and the Open Beaches Act of the state of Texas. And so that's what that position does, as well as other, natural resource programs and grants for coastal parks. But essentially right now, all dune permitting is under coastal parks. We've isolated it and we're doing it all under coastal parks right now. So that's why I didn't have a problem easing Juan's budget by moving it over to GOMESA and keeping it fully funded there. Although that's kind of risky, because what happens is that now this is a worst case scenario, but it was originally, the two position originally was approved to be funded through GOMESA. Last year, y'all approved it, turning it into FTE. And the judge, wanted me to do that. So we did that, and me and Juan split it. But since everything is now living at coastal parks with dune permitting, I'm okay with what was proposed to me to move it under GOMESA and reclassify it. But there's always a risk. There's always a risk is that what would happen one day if GOMESA mysteriously went away? You never know what's going to happen.
Well, Scott,
in DC.
we have to bring it back to the table, at that time. But I mean, I agree with you. I think it should be under GOMESA, and, I don't think Public Work has anything to do with it if you're doing all the permits. But if it's gonna go away, that's something we have to bring back to the table. I mean.
Okay, well, I didn't, all right, I noticed that on the request and so I just wanted to clarify that. So I'm trying to help, I'm trying to save money and trying to ease constraints on anything that I would ask for and use funding sources that I have. That's all I'm trying to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. We have anything else, Dale or Tyner?
Yeah, I got one, Commissioner.
Right.
The thing on, she's got a position there that is not on here, but can we put it on here, or do we need to put it on here, Dale? She pays for itself, so we're not looking at any, as far as any funding increases or anything.
There's several, actually. When I did, and I spoke to all the commissioners, thank you for recognizing me. I spoke to all the commissioners individually. I actually want to get rid of a position that we no longer need and use those monies to do step increases within my office. It's not gonna hit the general fund at all. It's fund neutral.
Yeah, but once you do.
But
step increases-
it was not, so I don't know, maybe because it doesn't, mess with the general fund, that it wasn't submitted? Or I'm not sure, but I know that when I spoke to Dale, or we emailed each other, he said that he had removed it. He was told to remove it, so it wasn't presented to y'all.
They were provided information on tab G, which is your total recommended requests, which were included in there, and yours was included in those requests for, I believe it's I is your reclassifications. We were requested to remove the ones for the county clerk, the district clerk, the inland parks, the coastal parks, because the Human Resources Department was requesting a proposal to do a submission of a phase 3 of our salary reimbursement. So if you'll see that you don't have anything for the district clerk, a lot of the stuff for senior clerks, senior community services was not there, senior services administration not there. So a lot of the other senior positions were not there. So you're not the only one that was not included as a recommendation. With working with HR and trying to do phase 3 of the salary reevaluation, they requested that was removed, and that's why it was removed.
So I spoke with Julie last night, and she says that was not the case, just so you
I told you
know.
that last night.
Okay, well, but again, I haven't spoken to HR. HR has not reached out to me. She has not said anything about working with my office. And again, this is my office. This is what I've put in. My request for my office, I'm not asking for more money. I think every time I come to you, commissioners, I've gotten rid of a position and I've just tried to work it to where I'm not asking for more money. And so I know what my office needs. and this is what I'm requesting. I'm respectfully requesting to consider this and that y'all know about it.
And so
I'm
we
sorry.
have, I'm sorry, Commissioner Chesney has his hand up, so I don't know if he wants to comment on what you're saying. Commissioner?
I don't see his hand.
Yes. So, well, this brought about a second set of questions, so I'm going to come back to this one because I do have questions about what Dale said. But my other question, first question was, Dale, remind me on the $1.5 million payment. Is that, we have to do that every year, or is that a one-time deal? I can't remember. I know you explained this before, but I can't remember.
Last year, y'all contracted with ABM to do the maintenance and repairs to the fairgrounds as well as the Juvenile Justice Center for some other information that was supposed to be for energy savings. The total amount of the contract was $35 million. We had $10 million already in our CO funds. We were required to go out for a loan, and we went out to the Bank of America for a $25 million loan. And it's a $1.5 million payment for their principals and interest every year for the next 20 years.
So this has to go into the budget every year for the next 20 years?
Yes.
But wasn't this, and this wasn't the one where the cost savings was supposed to be included in all of this, to where it wasn't going to cost us this kind of money?
That's the original process, but so far they have not done anything that justifies the cost savings. The only thing that so far the ABM done is put new concrete paving out in the area. They've not done any work on the air handlers. They've not done any work on the roofs. They've not done anywhere, any information that qualifies for a savings. We hopefully they'll have savings that once this thing is running again to pay for this, and we'll see a reduction in some of our expenses for the fairgrounds and the Juvenile Justice Center. But right now, they're just not, none at the moment.
Well, so wasn't there some contract language in ABM if some of these savings weren't covered, that they were responsible for
Hey,
certain things?
let me interrupt here just for a second. It's that the construction hasn't been completed yet to even begin the savings. In other words, we haven't even installed some of the equipment that would become part of the savings. So in other words, the lighting is a great example. The lighting has not been installed yet. In other words, we're in the construction phase, not in the post-construction phase. So you actually have to have the new lighting, the new air handlers, the new boilers, the new roofs, the new insulation, the new, all of those. It's a combo package. And of course, we had a thorough reading of all of this some time ago. So there will be savings theoretically. And yes, you're right. The contract language specifically guarantees a payment. But the problem is that you actually have to do the work before you get savings. You can't. And so we're not there yet. We just started this construction less than 90 days ago.
Well, I guess where I was going was, if this is a temporary situation because of the construction not starting, then is this a real number that has to be put into our budget? Or is this something we could make a one-time payment with and figure this out somewhere down the road? Because when we did this, engaged in this contract, I don't think any of us thought or intended that there would be this additional $1.5 million payment without an offset. And if this is just because we haven't started, kind of caught in the middle kind of thing, then why would we put it into the budget long-term and not just make it as a one-time payment out of COs or out of somewhere, instead of putting this in the budget forever and ever? Because that would be kind of sending a signal that we didn't think there was going to be an offset, which we do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but we're only working with this budget. I think Dale's comment is just sort of a worst case scenario if there were no savings and they didn't want to comply. But I mean, we're just dealing with this year's payment and this year's budget. That's all that we're contemplating right now. And you're right, we can,
The next 25 years, what he just said.
well, I know, but.
Yeah, this is a loan we received from the Bank of America. It was I believe it was a 25-year payment. It's around $1 million every, 1.5 every year for that period of time, yes.
Right, there'll be an offset, but you have to at least make the payment, and then the offset would be another budget item, right?
Right,
The
so-
energy savings would be another budget item.
And this is,
Right, but
this is a
I guess
required
I'm
debt
just-
service. We cannot pay debt service with another certificate obligation.
Right, but there's
That's
also.
correct.
There's also language in other words, to me, this is kind of a weird item, right? And I get it's government accounting, but there is language in that ABM contract that I'm just saying, before we go down the path of plugging this 1.5 number in, we need to look at all different things, because it doesn't sound like, and I don't think we contemplated when we did this, that we would be having to add $1.5 million a year to our budget, because had we done that, we would have had a whole level of different discussion before approving this contract. So I guess I'm just saying, I think we need to look at this item. Today's not the day to argue about it. I'm concerned about this item being in the budget. It's going to definitely be one of the things that I'm going to be looking at, the ABM contract, things of that kind of nature, because I just don't think we contemplated this being in there. And I think this makes a humongous difference in this budget, to the point of, I don't even know how to deal with it. You know, I mean, I wasn't contemplating this, and I don't think that's what we contemplated when we signed that ABM contract. So again, I'm not, it's just
Yeah,
one
no,
of,
I hear you, but I wanna point something out. So when we went for financing, we knew what the project was, and when we went out for RFP, when Bank of America came in with the lowest bid for, or we accepted their bid for financing, there was a schedule of payments that were attached. And there was absolute expectation that those would be the payments that would need to be made to Bank of America.
but with an
And,
offset, with an offset.
but with an offset that was guaranteed.
Right.
And so we can change that number to whatever that offset makes it. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that, because that's also a contractual obligation, as you're saying, and we can make sure that happens. But I do want everyone to know that it's not like a surprise. That schedule of payments was there.
The surprise is the net difference in our budget. So in other words, what I would have thought we would have seen, and I get that we're in the tweener stage, but what I would have thought we would have seen would have been, okay, the payment, but here's the offset. So it's a net wash. In other words, so it shouldn't be in the budget challenge if it would be in the budget increase, but then there would be a budget offset for it that would mean we wouldn't have to raise the 1.5 million extra because there's an offset, but there's no offset because we haven't started construction. Therefore, we may need to look at the contract to find the offset and get that contractual offset from the ABM. And again, I may be speaking a little out of, because I haven't looked at that ABM contract real closely in a while, but I'm just saying that's an area that I think we need to look at when we're doing budgeting, because yes, we knew the payment was coming, but we also thought there was going to be an offset. And I don't see the offset. I don't see the offset anywhere in the wherever that would be, in the revenue side or wherever that would be plugged in.
Right. Well, I understand. I think we can look at the offsets for future years. But as Dale said, there is, when you do a energy savings performance contract, you don't get to take from the INS side of things. Just so you know, Brent, in the budget, there's a $630,000 payment that we're gonna be making from here until Timbuktu, and that's for JCI. So just so you know, that highly impacts your budget too. It's a $621,000 payment, I believe. I had to leave the dais and come on Zoom. I had an emergency. So I left my paperwork on the dais, but the bottom line is there's a JCI contract that's also in place, and that's how things get financed when there's not enough ad valorem to do everything that you need to do infrastructure-wise, or you go to a CO. In this case, our CO is met with our interest and sinking fund. And as Dale showed you, we can even go to 0.047, not fully funded, which would have been the other number that we had from last week. But that JCI contract is also burdening the county, and it also has an energy savings component to it as well, and a particular contractual savings. And sometimes we get those checks, sometimes. But JCI is there too. So it's neither unusual nor unexpected, but it is a burden. There's no doubt. But it's a burden like everything else was a burden. And the real surprise here is that tax assessed value for new construction is half of what it should be. And that is pulling down
Yeah, well,
it's
no,
definitely hurting.
that's still surprising to me. It's better than it was last week, and that number last week shocked me, and as I said earlier, and this
Me
week
too.
just better too. And quite frankly, I'm still shocked by this number based on everything that I've seen, but it is what it is, and I understand that. So I'll dig more into this. I just really want to kind of bring that up, Dale, because that's going to be one of the things I really want to go through with you on Thursday, and is visit about that, and certainly I can include that GCI contract too. And then I guess just in general terminology, I don't really Dale, you were talking about I didn't understand all what you were talking about on the reclassifications that the county clerk had requested, but traditionally, any revenue neutral reclassification has pretty much been gone through pretty easily with the Commissioners Court. So I would anticipate any revenue neutral reclassifications by any department would as well. So I'm not exactly sure what all you were explaining earlier, but I certainly would be supportive of any revenue neutral reclassifications by any department head, because I think that's super good and creative, and Kara's not the only one that's done it. Ann's done it, Mark Gonzalez has done it. We've seen plenty of these things come through. So I'm certainly supportive of reclassifications that are revenue neutral.
I also want to add that there are over almost $1 million on your J1 that we've identified that would have been a part of the budget asterisks, because the lifeguard services are mandatory by state. And we've, again, as you see on your schedule, J1, your risk assessment, your proposed increase to Metrocom, we believe all of those would qualify for ARPA funding. And if we did not have those funds, that would be another additional $1 million. So while there are burdens that are a challenge to me, we have also qualified another $1 million that we believe we have a resource to go to. And again, that's lifeguard services. That would be under government services that we could apply lost revenues towards. Risk assessment that we could qualify in both categories, potentially under our mental health programming and under lost revenues and government services. And then also what was the third one? Oh, Metrocom software qualifies under both categories of technology and premium pay for those folks that are working in an area where COVID-19 certainly has a nexus. And so I just want to point out that I suppose it could be a lot worse. We at least have an opportunity to put, as I said, almost $1 million in. And even though I had to leave, I also wanted to address the Veterans Treatment Court Coordinator. That one, I need to speak with JJ a little more. Perhaps I know that that particular coordinator was actually in the field working with homebound veterans due to COVID. That one also may have an opportunity to be funded, but I will say, I believe that one to be of the utmost importance. Again, tragic that we lost the grant, but we certainly can't, be without that. We cannot be without that particular position, I don't believe, without it hurting our veteran population. And then finally, the Corps of Engineers plan at $50,000. I wanted to speak with you, Brent, maybe later about ideas you might have there. That is mainly to do a beach sediment incident management plan. And I'd be willing to work with you to figure out what resources might be available to fund that. But that would be a cost sharing. And I bet we could put our heads together and figure something there. Now, those are in addition to everything else. But let me just pretend if you took your Bank of America debt service out, or if you could reduce it to one payment, which, by the way, that might be a possibility, is a restructuring potentially. There's no doubt that we've taken another $1 million off the books. And then again, on the boundary dispute lawsuit, there's $1 million that we typically escrow for that. And that lawsuit has been ripe for a long time, but it's certainly been litigated here most recently that causes us some concern. But one could argue that you could cross that bridge when we came to it. In other words, that is why it's so critical to build your cash reserves. So I guess
And
what
you
I'm
know, Barbara,
saying is that there's a
that's
lot of dollars out there, Brent, that we could offset, that's all.
No, that's a good point on that boundary dispute lawsuit million, because that shouldn't be put, well, I know it's one budget, but usually when it's one budget, right, it means you're looking at keeping it in the budget indefinitely. So it's either you put it in this year and then you resolve it, you don't have to put any more from then on, and you get $1 million, pickup next year. But it's a good point on what you do on that boundary dispute lawsuit. I mean, whether we have to do that every year or we that's good. That is a good point. And I'm happy to meet with you on that other thing too, because I think that's definitely got some value. But yeah, that's all I'm looking for, some outside the box things on that, because those are the big items. You take those big items out and this budget is unbelievable good. You know, if you, with those in, it makes it really, really hard to figure out what to do. So those, because I look at these other things and I don't see a lot of objectionable, type situations, especially when you've got ARPA funds with question marks next to it. That's very hopeful, but maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. And obviously that also are options for this budget that could reduce that required increase in the budget, like, humongously. I mean, if you could figure out what to do with the boundary dispute, the Bank of America debt, and then stick some of those ones in there into ARPA funds legitimately, which I think you can, then that 2.7 is going to go way down. Down.
Well, and I, the only reason I'm not being sure is because I think there's nothing sure in life anymore, but I do believe the ARPAs, the ones that you see there, I've had so many conversations, and just yesterday, a big meeting. I feel very confident that we should as a court vote to utilize ARPA for those three that are right there. And, again, fill out the paperwork and get that process moving.
But my concern is if we're starting at this number and other members of the court have legitimate needs they want to add, then boy, I don't know where we're going to ever go. So if we can, take some of these things out.
Yeah, I agree.
And get those going, because I know, I don't, but I know other commissioners might have other things they want to add back in. And if they're able to get the 3 votes to do that, then we've really got budget challenges. So if there's ways to, I agree, if there's ways to go ahead and vote those things on, and we're told legally by our lawyers and auditors that we can do that, then I say, yes, let's vote for those ARPA funds. Let's do it now, and let's get those out of the budget challenges, because that's going to make a big difference on what we do tomorrow and what we do, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then also deal with the boundary lawsuit and the debt service and see what we can do with that. Because those are those 5 big items. If you somehow are able to get all or most of that out of this budget requirements, then that allows for, commissioners to do what they feel like they need to do and still potentially get to the no new tax rate. And I'm not trying to get in a fight on that today, but potentially.
Yeah,
and
I just
that
want
may not be where we get,
I
but I
hope
get it.
this doesn't burst your bubble, but I do want to remind you that 2.7, it's not the whole list. It's just the stars. I don't know if that, so it won't.
No, I know. I get
Yeah, I
it.
just want you
I
to
mean,
know that even if
that's
I
because
took
it's
all those
water.
other things out, it wouldn't reduce the 2.7, unfortunately. In other words, when you take lifeguard, risk assessment, boundary dispute, Metrocom, Corps of Engineers, and even just stop there, those are all in addition. So that 2.7 is really a much higher number. It's really a 3.8 number. If you put all of that, it's really 3, I have it here somewhere, but it's a much higher number. So if you added limited new positions and limited reclasses, if you added all of that together, you're over $4 million.
Judge, you don't think we can add the Assistant Veterans Treatment Coordinator to ARPA?
That's what I was saying, Commissioner. I think I need to understand more about what he'll be doing, but I bet I bet it's possible. The only way you can do that is if it falls into the mental health piece, which I bet it would.
Think so.
I just need to find out more of a description of what they're doing. And, you know, and the answer is, I'll get right back to you tomorrow on that.
I have a
The
question.
answer is, it could be.
I have a question on that, Bank of America debt. We're gonna make the payment every year,
Yes.
and do we have any idea I know it just started 90 days ago, the construction and all this. Do we have any idea from ABM how long it's gonna take them to get to that point to where we,
I was just looking that up, and there was a presentation in Commissioner's Court, and this is just an example, on the boilers in the jail. We're not gonna get substantial completion until August of 2022.
And let me explain why, because those pieces of equipment, commissioners, are what they call spec. In other words, you don't go buy them at Lowe's or Home Depot or even a buy board. You build for your facility. Like the generators, the permanent generators take 20 weeks to come in. And that's why we were so focused on hurrying to get this in so that we could begin this process. But there's no layaway, so you gotta pay for it in advance.
well, I understand that, but I was just wondering if we couldn't, it's too late now to say we couldn't, but anyway, maybe delayed it and say, well, if you're not gonna get to this till 2022, let's not put it on the books or whatever, till.
Okay,
you're actually
so,
ready.
but the problem is that we're not paying ABM anymore. We're paying Bank of America. We're financing with a bank. So our banker is Bank of America. So
I
we can
understand
make that argument to Bank of America, but I doubt that we got a interest rate that's next to nothing. So this is just what our service is, and it's 2 payments, one in April and one in October, and that's what gets us to the 1.5. So the issue is governed by contract. And again, they ordered them as soon as they could so that we could get them delivered as soon as possible so that we could start getting energy savings. But we are in the process of waiting, and we can get an update and all of those things. But the energy savings, remember, is over time. And they guarantee a piece of that over time. But it is, we can get everybody to go back and take a look at those presentations that were given to us so that we can take a look at those timelines. But that is the nature of that equipment, is that it takes a long time, just like the generators, to come in and create the opportunities. This is your spending money to make money theory initially, and then over time, we hope that it will pay those dividends.
I'm showing the boilers were ordered in March.
Is the roof at the fairgrounds done, complete?
I'm gonna get a report, and I will update the court.
Okay. So I think they did.
I'm gonna get a report from ABM. I've asked for that, and we will get the court a report on the status of the projects.
Very good, thank you, Tom.
The judge is on, or any other questions or comments? Looks like we're done on our end, Judge.
I have a,
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
Teresa-
And I
Teresa has
just
something.
want to make sure that we get a chance to look at all of these new numbers. Remember, typically by this time, we have a little bit more time under our belts. This is the first time we've been able to see all of these new numbers. So I would just ask you to remember that just the starred items alone are 2.7 million. And in order to achieve that,
we would have to be at, and then, of course, some of the items that are important to you guys, even if we put all those other things to ARPA, we still need an amount of money that would be very close to that, what they call that voter-approved rate, if not greater. And so my preparation for you all tomorrow is that we're, by law, need to set a proposed tax rate tomorrow. And remember, that is not the rate that will be chosen, but it is the rate that will set the ceiling. So it could be the rate that we choose, but it doesn't have to be. So please keep that in mind and be prepared tomorrow for answering that question, as it will be on our agenda. And again, you're looking for the rate that it wouldn't go over. So this is the ceiling that gives us all the realm of the possible. And with so much up in the air, I would invite you to be thinking about a ceiling. And again, I'll clarify it and qualify it 5 times tomorrow, but one more time doesn't hurt right now, which is that, of course, does not mean we won't use that rate. It just means that we could not go above that rate. And again, Dale's recommendation in the beginning of this conversation was that if you have any intentions of seeing new positions or new reclassifications, you're going to need to be thinking the voter-approved rate. And which, by the way, is super close to last year's rate. And when I say super close, I mean like 100th, 300ths off, I believe. So anyway, with no more questions, we'll just conclude for the day. But we'll ask one more time. Anybody else for now?
Commissioner, you also want to make some for clarification for the potential information you want. It was a 5% from the pay groups 29 and above. What was the one for 11 to 28?
7 or 8, either
7 or
one.
8%.
And then also said 7 across everybody,
7 across everybody. Is there anyone to exclude?
just to see the numbers.
Do we exclude anybody?
I'm sorry?
Do we exclude anybody?
Do we exclude
Yeah.
everybody?
Do we
Anybody?
exclude anybody? Last time we excluded the medical examiner. Last time we excluded all of them, elected officials. I want to know, who do we exclude?
No, not right now.
So we exclude everybody. All right. We include everybody.
John?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Brent, I
didn't
think
know-
Teresa had something
it-
real quick that she wanted to share from an earlier discussion.
I can't hear you, John.
Teresa wanted to share something from an earlier discussion, so.
Oh, and I didn't know if Kara got to finish either, because I think she was still in the middle of something too, so I don't know if she got to finish.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to mention that on Friday, the 13th, we have to send out the salary letters for the elected officials' salaries. And right now, I don't believe, it's not included, a COLA is not included. So the estimate that we're going to show is last year's budget, and if anybody's going to receive the continuance step.
I'll
But
have
if
this
it's gonna be
information for COLA
included-
for tomorrow's court, so we can have something tomorrow, so we'll have a clear identification of what you need for the elected officials after tomorrow, whatever the decision is.
Okay.
Okay.
Kara, you were finished?
Yeah, I just wanted to make you all aware of that, and hopefully the auditor will submit to you. If not, I will also resend it to you all.
It'll be included.
Also, the tax assessor is on here. It is being increased on what you submitted to the court, Dale. So, saying that my office, Ann's office, and Kevin's office is the same, that's not accurate. But I would also just like to work on my budget.
But you're not gonna require an increase, right?
For the recommended, for the tax assessor, there's only one position, moving intermediate clerk to senior clerk, and that's just for moving out of the pay group 11 to pay group 12.
Okay, again, I've not discussed, HR has not come to me.
Be clear what you're saying.
So, again, I will get.
So if you're saying that I include anything else, there wasn't.
Okay, well, it wasn't included, so I will give you all the positions that I'm asking you to reclassify, and it's y'all's vote.
Okay, but reclassify, you said, you also have one position that you said is not gonna cost any money?
It's not, those reclassifications are gonna cost money in my office, because I'm getting rid of the
Oh.
position. And I'm using that money.
You can go to H1, that's the reclass request that Kara's referring to.
What do you want to do, Carol? It's not going to affect the general fund.
It's not, it's actually gonna save money.
Okay.
Nobody can hear you. No, it's not gonna affect the general fund at all. In fact, it will save money.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Judge, we're done on our end. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share?
No, thank you, John, very much for assisting me this morning. And again, I just, what can you say? There are good things and bad things that cycle through our lives. In many ways, our budget last year is such a success. To be able to say we're gonna have significant, reserves, maybe being as high as $2 million is phenomenal from last year. But the late-term effects of COVID on the economy overall is now taking a toll in this year's budget. And so much so that, again, you can't always, get what you want, but we do need to be able to provide for what we need. And I would say that there is going to be a real interesting discussion after we set the proposed rate, because there's no way to get even what we need with the effective. And everybody always wants to try to see, can you lower taxes? And the effective is called now the no new revenue tax rate. But alas, there's no way to bring in the revenue that you would need to even take care of the asterisks. And again, I think that's the real story here, is that you're gonna have to figure out what amount that we're allowed to go to by law, which is the voter approved plus the unused increment. That would bring in $5 million. So you can go $1 million to $5 million, and somewhere in between might be that perfect amount. And that's where it gets to be a challenge. So we'll bring back more info and visit with Dale. But the desire to give everybody raises will have to be met with the question, how will you pay for it? With what rate? And so we look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments.
Also, Judge,
I
if you
guess in the
remember,
week to
when,
come.
during our last Commissioners Court, when we approved the contract for our medical insurance, there was a difference between a PPO for the Aetna network as well as the EPO for the SPON network. And the decision was possibly those that are staying on the PPO would have to pay a higher premium. So we need to consider a possible premium increase on some individuals, not all, but that's something we still need to determine what that effect would be.
Exactly. That's why I said that the work really begins today, because today is the first day that we've seen all of the new calculations. And again, they're disappointing on new construction, but I will say that there's two elements that we're missing. One is that growth is still looking good in our community, and that's positive. It's just not new growth in the way that we expected it. But I was on an EDC call this morning, and we're just not in recovery, full-scale recovery yet. And so that's one thing that we need to keep in mind. And I think the other thing is what our cash flow analysis looks like in years to come. And that's important, what Commissioner Chesney said. If you're gonna expect energy savings in year 2, 3, and 4, but not in year 1, boy, you need to know that. But what other arenas could we expect energy savings? And in what other arenas are we seeing loss of revenue? So from the pier to the energy savings to, other opportunities to restore grants in our community, our litigation with regards to insurance. I mean, let's face it, the reason that you have that debt service is because we did not have the ability to, take care of our ailing mechanical amongst other items. And that mechanical function of your courthouse, jail, juvenile, and fairgrounds is very expensive, including HVAC. And so, maybe if we were to prevail in other arenas, you could see offsets in the future. So I don't think that our future is anything but bright. But I think this particular year, we are seeing the late-term effects of a COVID economy on our ad valorem. And with that, I'll just close and say, see you tomorrow morning, and thanks for coming in. We are adjourned, 10:41 a.m.